Hello, this is Gene. Let's get into it. I want to talk about the USA or U.S. soccer, what happened in Trinidad last night. Before I get into that, I just came home. I went and got my wife an anniversary gift, and I just opened up my iPad and it said study or statistics come out that how sexual misconduct costs powerful men their jobs. And okay, that sounds about right. If you get alleged, if something happens to you, the wolves come out and get you fired. I mean, it happens everywhere without any due process. They just have to say it happened, and then you lose your job. But it went on and said, except what's going on in the White House. So by implication, it's saying that what's going on in the White House, I guess the president has done something in his past that is sexual misconduct. This is CNN. These type of things, this vitriol that they have against the president, is what causes stupid people to do stupid things. Oh, he must be against women. He must be because what he said about grabbing the pussy, that women will let you do it, when clearly they do. So I'm going to talk about U.S. soccer, but somehow it's going to always dovetail with what I talk about on this channel all the time about female privilege and female nature, because it's here as well, and it really shouldn't have any place of what happened last night. But almost the first things people said after the men's lost the chance to get to the World Cup, people had to go on Twitter and say things. So I'm going to talk about that, how it dovetails, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Weinstein again, and we'll stop from there. Last night was an embarrassment to U.S. soccer. And when I say U.S. soccer, I'm including the women's team, because U.S. soccer includes both the men and the women's team, and also the youth teams underneath that. There's no way we should be in a position like that to just get a draw at Trinidad. We should be better than that. We have enough people in this country to have a good team. But the issue is that we have a lot of older players on this team, and apparently the new coach, Arena, did not trust any younger guys to get the job done. He trusted the guys that have done it in the past, and they came out flat, listless. There really is no excuse how they played that game. When they knew with about 5 minutes left, they were in extra time, and they knew that Panama had won, and that Honduras had won. They knew they had to at least get a draw in that game, and there was no urgency from the team. And at the end, they had one last corner kick, and the goalie did not come up. The U.S. goalkeeper did not come up. It makes no sense to me. He stayed back on his line with about 90 seconds left in the game. There's a lot of people are going crazy right now about how to fix it. I think this is going to be, overall, this is going to be a good thing for U.S. soccer, because obviously we have problems. We should be able to qualify in CONCACAF. We're the biggest country. We should be able to do that. But people get online, and before I get to the female side of it, they started talking about, well, Trinidad and Tobago had 1.3 million people, and we had over 350 million people, and we sucked because of that. And I said, well, that's strange, because Iceland qualified through Europe, and they have over 300K, and they went and they did well in the European championships last year or 2 years ago. It has nothing to do with the size or the population. It helps because you think you'd have a bigger pool for it. In our country, we have so many different sports that people play, and soccer is not the #1 sport in this country. As much as I would like it to be, I love soccer. Those who watch all of my channels and my videos know that I'm a big fan of the English game. So, and of course, I want the United States to be in the World Cup. It doesn't going to stop me from watching it. I mean, I root for other people. I root for Belgium and France. And for Germany, that's where my ancestries are from. So I'll root for those teams, even though we can talk about the demographics of those teams now, especially the French. The French don't look like any native French men anymore. But whatever, that's what it is, and that's the way it is. And it's same thing with the team I root for in the Premiership. They've changed dramatically. You'd only have maybe one or two guys that are from Manchester. So, but how this all started dovetailing back to female nature is that right after this happened, there were hundreds of tweets online, not just saying, I can't believe that the men didn't qualify, and this is a bad day for U.S. soccer on the whole. That's what I said. It's they started talking, well, I guess the women should get paid more now because they're more successful, and why didn't U.S. soccer give them more money? And there was no women that were tweeting this. These were men. The I want to be a good man thing, just so people think that I like women. And, you know, I did a video a while back when this happened. They still think that the women should make more money. And I'm like, okay, that's not really the priority right now. But the women, and they're part of the U.S. soccer, and I root for them. I didn't do it during the last World Cup before what they did. But they couldn't beat a 14-year-old schoolboy team. And we think we should pay them more what the men bring in. And the men bring in more money anyway. Even when they don't do well in the World Cup, they make more money from it because there's so much more money in the World Cup for men than it is for women. So really quick, when the girls won the World Cup, the entire purse was $12 million, and they won $2 million. For the women's or the men's World Cup, it was $400, and the boys had got 12 or 14 million just to get out of the first group phase. It's not the same level, athletically, monetarily, or anything. And it's for guys to get out there and say, well, see, the women should get paid as much as the men because the men can't beat anybody from Trinidad. So here we are. We have to push up women again. We have to empower them because they can't be empowered by themselves, apparently. All the fame that these women have got outside of soccer, I guess that was just all on them. It wasn't the fact that they represented the best team in soccer. But this all dovetails about what we're seeing now, that everybody's coming out now saying they got raped by Weinstein. And then people are calling out all his friends or other men that knew him. And I don't like these guys. I mean, these are white liberal dick chits that I don't even like. But they're like, oh, you covered up for me, and you covered for him. But none of these women that claim that they were allegedly raped never went to the cops. They waited until somebody else came out 20 years later to say this happened to me. And it's all coming out, everything. And now Terry Crews is talking about he was groped. Well, all these are an open secret in Hollywood. We all know this, that people actually research this. Just because Corey Feldman or Haim or whatever it was that said that pedophilia is a huge problem in Hollywood, and nobody really cared about that he said this, that they're perverse, they're degenerate, and when you start going down that road and you realize who runs this, so if I, as somebody who somewhat supports the alt-right and says that the country should look something like it was formed on, predominantly white, that I'm a racist for saying it, or if I say something that, I'm not going to say that Jews deserve to be in camps in World War II, but there is enough proof out there that says they've been thrown out of every other country in existence. And here they came in our country and they just destroyed, first they destroyed Berlin and they made it like the Sodom and Gomorrah from the Bible. And that Germany and Hitler said, we got to change that. And of course he went over too far, but there's so much energy that was going on, and I had this in another video, that he did something about it. We're just letting Hollywood just do whatever they want to do. Every now and then the Congress will come in and say this and that like that, and when somebody says, hey, there's too much violence in a movie, then we're like, oh, we're conservatives, we don't understand, watching them in like 2004 after Polanski won his Oscar, and this is after he'd been convicted of raping a 13-year-old girl, and they're standing up like, oh, it's so good, oh, it's good to be that way. They stand up for a degenerate act like that. But this is a little different. Obviously that woman, or that girl, did not have she didn't consent, let's say. She was raped, she was drugged, and all the good stuff. All these other women were adults, and it goes down from that. Nobody gets in to see Harvey Weinstein or anybody like him unless they have an agent that gets him in the door. So the agents are always complicit as well. They know what's going on in that office when they see him. And these women are allowed to sell themselves so they can get to the next level. And there's no difference to me. I'm not a fan of people who takes PEDs. There's no difference to me when somebody like John Jones claims he didn't know he took something, a drug that'll make him more strong, or a woman that says, I was forced to give this guy a oral sex so I get this part. You were a consenting person. You were an adult at that time. Same with John Jones. It was your body and let it happen. And we just vilify him, and I'm one of them, that we vilify him, and we don't say he's a victim of the circumstance, but we'll say every woman that did this is somehow a victim. And then when all these other women know this has happened to them, or they happen to them, they wait till somebody comes out with it, and then everybody gets out on the gravy train to get something from it. It's not like they don't want Weinstein to go rot in hell. They want money from him. It's always about resources for females. And what started me with my journey down to where I am right now is I became an MRA. That's men's rights advocate. I was an anti-feminist. For a long time, I was a quote-unquote a feminist. But I didn't realize what it really was. I just thought feminism must mean women's rights. And of course I'm for that. I'm the good man. I want to be about women's rights. But the truth is that the feminism has its own ideology, and it's steeped in Marxism. And what it wants to do is destroy the family unit, and by taking out the man, the father, in the process. So they come up with shit like patriarchy or toxic masculinity and all this other shit to just make men feel ashamed. And our media does it, and everybody says it's all men's fault all the time, every time. Women have no agency at all in this. They're always the fucking victims. And I'm not saying that he did things that were good or bad, but when you're sitting in there and you're 22 years old and he says you need to do this to get this part, have some fucking integrity and say I'm not going to do it, because some women did. They actually left the fucking room. Now, did they report him? I don't know. Maybe they did and nothing happened from that. That's part of the culture of Hollywood. I can't fix that. We've been trying so hard in this country, more progressive, whatever that means, to make sure that women, their voices are actually listened to. Now it's gone so way to this, whatever you want to call it to, that whatever they say, we have to just immediately say that they're the victims. That all comes from one side, and it's from feminism and the left. And all of this is the same thing. These guys that got on Twitter last night saying that the soccer team, the women's soccer team, should get more money than the men. Instead of saying this is a bad day for U.S. soccer, that together, regardless of gender, we're going to say this is a bad day for soccer, and we got to get better and still support the women's team and the women and the men's team. They want to make it a gender's issue. And this is so stupid. It's a sport, and it shouldn't matter that much. But it does to me because I supported both of these teams forever. But the thing is that the problem that I fell into is that I became almost like a MGTOW. And I talked about this before, because you understand what female nature is, and either you say they have no control over it, that it's subconscious, and they can't really do anything about it unless they're woke about it, and then they do things about it. Or they have this in themselves that they have to always trade up. Women normally don't marry down. They always trade up. Or the next person they're with, their partner, they always trade up. That's what they do. They're looking for more resources and stuff. That's just the roles that they have. I'm not saying it's bad or not. But it goes into the family courts and how they overwhelmingly side with the women. When you go into mental services, they do the same thing. And it shames men over and over again. And eventually some of them either get so fed up with it, they become MGTOW, and they don't want to do anything to do with women all the time, and they just blame women all the fucking time. When clearly it's not all feminists. Not all women are feminists. Only 1 in 5 even claim that they are. And out of those, the people aren't really feminists. My daughter considers herself a feminist, but I'm not that type of feminist. I don't hate women or men. But then you go on her Facebook, and she does say shit about cis males and shit like that. So she's going down that road. So what you try to do, and then you do this other part, you're like, well, I want to be traditional, and I want to have the family unit. So you can't tear down women or feminists or whatever. You have to hopefully get more and more women away from feminism to get more traditional values. But still, it becomes that we still have to empower women and push them up, because apparently they can't do it on themselves. And the idea that these women who were victims apparently all this time are now coming out, just like Cosby, like everybody else, saying, I couldn't go in and talk about it because he would have crushed me in Hollywood. What's better, your character or your integrity? What the fuck? I just don't see this. I don't feel any I don't feel bad for any of them. I just don't, until they come out and said he was doing this to a 12-year-old or something like that. Other than that, you walked in there, he said something to you, you agreed, and you did it. It's on you. And it's just over and over and over again about, oh, we're victims, and all the men get out there and they say, oh, they're the same thing. And so many people on the Republican side do the same thing. It's like, you know what? It's like how we look at blacks. You know what? You're gonna do all the crime, and you can't do anything about it because it's all about slavery and the white man, all that shit. That's all on you. You can't do anything about it. We're just going to do what we're going to do about it. The same thing we do with women. I said it before when I was really going through this whole stage, that women look. I think that they're like they're retarded children in some ways. They have no agency whatsoever. Now, fortunately, a lot of young women are getting red pilled, and a lot of them understand this female nature. And they are basically saying the things now. There are a lot of women online, a lot of them that support either alt-light or alt-right, that don't have any sympathy for these women. It's like you walk in there, you have an agent, the agent, they're all complicit. So, was it KB Hopkins, and I think I'll try to find her video and I'll put it below. She basically said you all are Weinsteins, all of you, including the women that walk in there, because they know that's the contract. And also Paul Elam did the same thing about how women are about this. They know what's up. We all know that the women we see in movies aren't the most talented of all time. Some of them are nice looking, but few have that great ability to act. Even the ones that we think are great now are not that good. When you say what's the top 10 actors, and I mean with women and men, there might be one woman in there. And I'm not saying it because I'm a man, but I'm just saying there's probably one there, and maybe two. I wouldn't say that Lawrence would be there. She does the same type of acting. Her face is exactly the same. There's nobody really that you could say, other than maybe the gents, some of the older ones. But anyway, this all relates. And again, I've said it before in my videos before. Everybody's going to call me paranoid, but it's all related. It's how this culture is like, oh, the women didn't make it, so we're going to give them more money. And regardless if they don't bring any money in, we're going to give them more money because whatever. And instead of being devastated if you're a U.S. soccer team fan, you just want to divide us based on gender again, and you want to say things that we are not supporting women. And it just gets over and over again, and it just goes on and on and goes on. I think I've talked enough. Let me know what you think below. Like I said, last night was devastating, but I hope that in the future it'll actually help U.S. soccer. It is what it is. It happened in England about 30 years ago as well. They didn't make it to the World Cup. So we don't have any right to be in the World Cup, and we didn't play well enough to get to the World Cup. So congratulations to those from CONCACAF that got in. They deserved it. We didn't. The other issue, Weinstein, he's going to be like Cosby. I don't think he'll ever go to any trial, but he'll take his millions and go on his way. And maybe he was a perv the entire time. But when you allow it, what they call it, to allow it to happen, you almost say it's okay to do it. Guys like that are going to keep doing it. I don't consider him a good guy. I don't consider myself the greatest guy ever of all time. But I get sick and tired of guys who virtual signal all the time that they're the good man and they're going to be better than everything else. And I'm like, fuck you. If a woman was look like that, or look like some of those women like that, and said that, hey, I'll do this if you give me this part, most guys would probably do what he did. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but this is how that social contract that we've had with women for the last 100 million years, that they want resources, they want fame or whatever, and guys normally are in the position to give it. Some guys want that for payment. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but to say that those women have no agency in this needs to be called out, and that's what I'm doing right here. You guys have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.